Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Escape or spending time in the studio.
So you're back working in the studio. You want to talk a little bit about what's going on with that?
This new one is going to be a full-length album, and we have all these songs that we've been working on basically since beginning of the pandemic, I would say. And some of them are newer than others, but we really feel like we've come up with a lot of good hooks and just strong songs, as opposed to sketches of ideas that we go in the studio and record that and then try to sort of piece together what our favorite things are. This is a little more intention, and part of that was inspired by our engineer and co-producer John Davis from the Bunker in Brooklyn. John Davis has some Grammys to his name from engineering, like Brad Meldau's Best Jazz Album, but he also is a bass player for Jojo Mayer and Nerve, and a fantastic musician and just musical head. And he's a big fan of Radiohead. Actually, speaking of heads, as Phil and I are, and he just, having worked with all our albums over the years, he's like, I'd really love to just get you guys in and work through a different way instead of just having everybody in the same room and go. It's like, why don't we come with, like, we make some beats, we put the structure in. Phil has laid down a lot of his keys already on this album, keys and synths and stuff like that. Maybe you can talk about that.
It was actually, it's silly, but like the actual process of actually making demos was really good for us, I think, in terms of sculpting sound. So we did a lot of stuff where we would just we basically put down an 808 track and then played the simplest possible thing so we could walk into the studio with structures all set, as opposed to doing the live experience where normally we walk into the studio, okay, completely blank track, let's start from fresh. And instead we would go in there with the thing with the demo ready, and then we would do some stuff like the keyboard tracks for the first time, since we're not doing everything live to tape. I would play the MIDI, and then we'd pipe that into the synthesizer, and then we do that again, and then we just play the synthesizer and just modulate the envelopes and such. And we ended up creating much more advanced sounds, and using the studio as an instrument as opposed for using the studio as a record keeper, which is, I feel like, cannot. That's part of the live and studio experience, is that you don't get as much access to the tools of the studio. It's mainly taking it and trying to make it as crystal clear as possible. But man, some of the tracks that we laid on the keyboards, discovering new ideas and discovering new sounds. Very cool. Very cool.
Do you like one process more, or is it too early to tell?
Definitely too early to tell, but I'm really, really enjoying making new discoveries it's a totally different way to discover stuff, because I think I think we've all been involved in studio projects where you're doing everything in the box. That's no good.
Yeah,
that's hard. But this is more kind of taking it out, playing it out, being part of the live band experience, and then taking that back and saying, okay, now what can we do in the studio? And not trying to do it so that we can't recreate it live, but trying to make new discoveries so that we can use those later.
Right. And I kind of like the hybrid approach to it, because if you talk about Story of a Ghost, in that production, there was a lot of tracks that were bass drums and a scratch guitar that you still hear, and then they were layering over that. So it's sort of nice to still have some sort of live feel in there. And, when we approached the playing, there's definitely an idea of there's some parts that are like, oh, this is what the part is, make that part. And then, but when you get to something like a lead or some other things, it's like, even then in the studio, I have a basic idea of what I want, but I'm trying to instill, this is what's sounding and feeling really great right now, and capturing that. So it's in a way, even though there'll be a lot of just sort of pre-written parts and construction, there's a lot of element of risk or fresh live feel to it, because it's like this is what was right for that one moment.
Excellent. So when are we going to see this album, or is that we aren't that far along yet?
Well, we're pretty far along. It's gonna be a matter of getting back in there. We had a little bit on hold. I had a surgery that kind of put me out for a little while, but we're getting back on it. I'm hoping that like the first singles can come out by fall or so.
Very nice. We talked to Jim Cotta, and their last
Oh, yeah.
album, Bonfire, they released over during quarantine and COVID, and they released one single a month for 10 months. And they were saying that they thought that was a better way because you got more eyes. Every month you got new eyes on you. What do you think of something like that?
That's definitely a way to go. In the past, we usually have 2 to 3 singles. The EP, we didn't do that because there were only 4 songs. So it's just
Right.
like
Buy the EP. Just buy the EP.
Well, one of the things that's important is to make sure that you can keep talking about the album, because it's so easy to, you build up all this, you're so excited about it, and then release day comes and you're like, hey, it's out.
And you get 2 days.
2 weeks later.
Right.
And then 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks later, you're like, can I bring this up again? Can I say this again? So it's like, the idea of releasing, I can see exactly why that would be a great idea, because it keeps you talking about it. And that's why the process has always been, make the album, release the singles, keep people keep that album on your radar.
Yeah, with these days, the streaming days that we have now, it makes sense to release singles because people will listen to a song,
You might end up on the right playlist, which is all you need with Spotify to get a couple bucks out of them, I guess.
Yeah,
Not
right.
much, but
yeah, I've made about hundreds of dollars in music over the course of my life.
Exactly.
Dozens even.
Dozens of dollars.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.